blessing that is coming. When Joseph was thrown into the pit by his brothers, he didn't know that his time in waiting would elevate him to the palace. He could have given up. He could have become bitter, but instead he trusted God's process. The very ones who tried to bury him were the ones who witnessed his rise. I tell you today, your waiting has not been in vain. The suffering, the loneliness, the tears you cried in the dark, they were all part of a divine setup. And now the Lord is saying, it is time. But let me warn you, when God shifts you, it won't look the way you expect. It never does. When God moved Israel out of Egypt, they didn't walk into the promised land immediately. They had to pass through the wilderness. And why? Because God was not just changing their location, He was changing their mindset. Some of you have been crying for change, but your mind is still in captivity. Your habits, your fears, and your doubts are still rooted in the past. But God is saying, I am shifting you forward, whether you feel ready or not. The Bible tells us in Isaiah 43:19, behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? That means God is already moving. He is already opening doors, aligning people and setting things in place. But do you perceive it? Can you sense the shift in the Spirit? Some of you have been so focused on the struggle that you don't even realize you have stepped into the new season already. You are still acting like you are waiting, but God has already made the way. Look at Peter. He was in prison, locked up, bound by chains. But the angel of the Lord came in the middle of the night, struck him on the side and told him to get up. When he stood up, the chains fell off. Listen to me. God is about to strike you on the side. He is about to wake you up, and the things that have held you back are going to fall off. But you must be ready to move. Peter could have stayed seated, doubting what was happening, but he got up and followed the angel out of the prison. Some of you are sitting in open prison cells, not realizing that your chains are already broken. It's time to move. Faith is not just believing, it is moving when God says move. It is stepping forward when nothing makes sense. When God told Abraham to leave his homeland, He didn't give him a map. He simply said, go to the land I will show you. Abraham had to walk before he saw the destination. That is what God is asking of you right now. The shift is happening, but you must step into it. Do not let fear keep you from what God has prepared. The enemy will always try to convince you that you are not ready, that you are not worthy, that you are not capable. But when God calls you, He equips you. Look at Moses. He doubted himself. He said, Lord, I am slow of speech. But God wasn't concerned with Moses' ability. He was concerned with Moses' obedience. The shift is not about your qualifications. It is about your willingness to follow. Some of you have been comfortable in your suffering because it is familiar. You have adjusted to the wilderness, and now you fear the promised land. But hear me. God did not bring you this far to leave you. He did not let you endure all those trials just to abandon you. He is a faithful God. He is a God who completes what He starts. And He is saying, your waiting is over. The enemy is terrified of what you are about to step into. He has tried to delay you, distract you, and discourage you, but he has failed, because what God has ordained, no man can stop. The doors that are opening for you have been set by God Himself. No enemy, no opposition, no setback can close them. But you must walk through them. You cannot hesitate. You cannot second guess. You cannot shrink back into the shadows of fear. I declare over you today that the season of waiting has ended, that what was stagnant is now moving, that the favor of God is resting upon you, that the breakthrough you have been crying for is now at hand. But will you recognize it? Will you embrace it? Will you step into it with faith? Because when God shifts you, everything changes. People who once overlooked you will suddenly see the glory on your life. Doors that were locked will suddenly swing open. Opportunities that seemed impossible will now be placed in your path. But remember, this shift is not about material things. It is about positioning. It is about purpose. It is about stepping fully into who God created you to be. Do not make the mistake of thinking this is just another season. No, this is a divine turning point. This is a God-ordained acceleration. And those who are aligned with him will experience a transformation unlike anything they have seen before. You have been waiting long enough. You have been praying long enough, and now God is saying, move. Will you obey? Will you walk into what he has prepared for you? Because the shift has already begun. The only question left is, are you ready? When God moves, he moves suddenly. One moment Joseph was in prison, and the next he was standing before Pharaoh. One moment David was tending sheep, and the next he was anointed king. One moment Peter was fishing, and the next he was following Jesus. God's shifts happen quickly, but they don't come without preparation. The years of trials, the seasons of waiting, the moments of loneliness, these were all part of the process to prepare you for what is coming. And now that the time has arrived, you cannot afford to hesitate. God is calling you to step out of the shadows. He is calling you to rise into the position he has destined for you. This is not the time to shrink back in fear. This is not the time to question whether you are worthy. God already knew your weaknesses when he called you. He already knew your struggles, your doubts, your insecurities. And yet he still chose you. Because it was never about your strength. It was always about his. The shift that is happening in your life is not something you have to force. It is something you have to walk into. The doors are opening, but you must walk through them. Think about the Israelites at the Red Sea. The enemy was behind them and the sea was in front of them. Fear tried to grip their hearts. They could have turned back, but God had already set the path before them. All they had to do was walk forward. And when they did, the waters parted. The miracle wasn't just in the parting of the sea, it was in their obedience to move when God said, move. Some of you are standing at your own Red Sea, hesitating because you don't see the way forward. But God is saying, move and I will make the way. The shift doesn't require you to understand everything. It requires you to trust him completely. Too many believers are waiting for perfect conditions before they step out. They say, Lord, I'll go when I have more resources. I'll move when I feel more confident. I'll obey when things make more sense. But faith doesn't work that way. Faith moves when there is no evidence, when there is no clear sign, when everything in the natural looks impossible. Faith doesn't wait for clarity. Faith walks in obedience. Abraham left his homeland without a destination. Peter stepped out of the boat onto water. The disciples followed Jesus without knowing where the journey would take them. That is the kind of faith that God is calling you to right now. The problem is not that God is not speaking. The problem is that many of us are not listening. We are too distracted by our own expectations, by our own fears, by our own comfort. God is saying, I am shifting you into a new season, but you are still clinging to the old one. You cannot step into what's next if you are still holding on to what was. Lot's wife turned into a pillar of salt because she looked back. She was too attached to where she came from to fully